and welcome to the Basics of Jazz Drum Set for Music Educators. In this series, we're covering everything from setup and tuning to important grooves to know, how to decipher sheet music, and importantly for you band directors out there, how to communicate what you need to a young student who doesn't know much at all yet. If this sounds like something that you need, awesome! I'm so glad I can help you out. Feel free to subscribe to the channel and turn on your notifications so you catch it when I post another episode in this series. Today's video is about one of the most important grooves a young drummer can know, the swing beat. You hear this beat everywhere in jazz music, from big band recordings in the 30s and 40s to small group recordings in basically every era of jazz, and even the idea of swinging certain subdivisions is present in other types of music, everything from blues and some types of rock and roll to, world musics like Brazilian music or others. So to start learning a swing beat, we first have to understand what swinging means. When you play many Western styles of music like a march or a waltz or even a rock beat, we play straight eighth notes. This means that the space between all of the eighth notes is exactly the same. They're very, very even. This means that the space between all of the eighth notes is exactly the same, like this. When we swing our notes, we're changing the amount of space in between them so that the first note is longer and the second note is shorter, like this. Some people like to do this by imagining that we're playing eighth note triplets rather than straight eighth notes, and just that we're omitting the second triplet out of 3. Written down, that would look like this. If this works for you, then great. If not, that's also okay. Swing is a pretty nebulous thing to explain and to understand, and people interpret it slightly differently, as a matter of personal style, the era and subgenre of jazz that they play, and lots of other things. One of the best ways to learn how to swing is to listen to lots of jazz and to try and play along with the different swing feels that you hear. This helps your brain become more familiar with the sound and feeling of swung eighth notes, and over time it will start to come more naturally to you. Now for the swing beat that you'll use in jazz bands. The most important part of this beat, by a country mile, is the ride cymbal pattern, which I learned by being taught and repeating the phrase, "I love the drums, love the drums, love the drums." It might feel a little silly to say your rhythms out loud like that with a word pattern, but it's a great way to help get the feeling of the music without thinking too hard. As many wise music teachers have said, if you can say it, then you can play it. So let's loop that phrase with a metronome and get in the groove. I love the drums, 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 love the drums. Great! Now we can transfer it to the ride cymbal. Let's play this together. 1, 2, 1, 2, ready, go. Now that we have that, let's add another limb. The next most important part of the swing beat is our hi-hat, which we're going to play with our left foot, or right foot if you're a total lefty. We're going to play our hi-hat on beat 2 and beat 4. So for those of you locking into my I love the drums rhythm, we're going to play the hi-hat every time we say love. I love the drums, love the drums, love the drums, like that. Let's play the ride and the hi-hat together with the metronome and see how that one sounds. 1, 2, 1, 2, ready, go. While there are a lot of other things that we can add to this beat to make it more hip or more specific to a certain musical context, that is the bare bones of it. If I were to be adjudicating a jazz festival and I saw a drummer come on stage and play just that for the entire song while using dynamics and keeping a steady beat, that band would be one of my favorites to see the whole day. That is the essence of the swing beat. We don't really need anything more than that, particularly if you're a student or yourself, you just started playing. That's awesome. Now, if you're a little more advanced and you'd like some more options, here are a few things to consider. In lots of older big band music, drummers would do something called feathering the bass drum. This means we're going to play the bass drum very, very softly in a 4-on-the-floor pattern, or playing all 4 quarter notes right on the beat. The purpose of this is to support the bass player and give a little bit of extra lift to their notes. So that's why it's important we play very quietly. Oftentimes the bass player will be very sparingly amplified or not at all, and we don't want to cover up their bass notes. This is a rhythm that is best felt instead of heard. I'm going to show you what this sounds like. 1, 2, 1, 2, ready, go. Another thing that you hear in big band music, as well as occasionally in small group drumming, is a rim click on beat 4. This is a really great groove pattern to add to your arsenal if you want a little bit more interest in your beat, but you don't want to take away from the other things your bandmates are playing, or you just want to keep it a little bit more low-key. I like using this on a head-in, or sometimes during a piano solo. Here's what it sounds like. 1, 2, 1, 2, ready, go. For those of you more advanced players out there that want to cross the bridge into less pattern-based playing, I recommend that you start working on something called comping. Comping is what drummers and other rhythm section folks like guitarists and pianists do to back our bandmates up in a more communicative way. You hear a lot of this in small group recordings while someone is soloing in a more obvious way, but it's something that happens almost all the time in a jazz style, especially if you play the drums. The end goal of this kind of practice is to be able to keep your ride cymbal beat really, really steady while playing basically whatever you want with your other 3 limbs, interacting in any way and feeling very free and comfortable doing that. Now, that's a little bit of a tall order, particularly if you've just started out or if you haven't been playing for very long. So here's how I would take that first step into the wide, wide world of comping. To start out, we're going to take 2 or 3 rhythms that sound cool on either the bass drum or the snare drum, or both together in the same measure. Take a 1-measure pattern or a 2-measure pattern and practice it and repeat it the same way that you do with feathering the bass drum, or the rim click on 4, or the ride cymbal beat by itself. We want to work on these until they feel super duper comfortable, like you can think about what you're going to have for lunch in a few minutes and still execute the pattern perfectly. Once you get to that point with 2 or 3 different rhythms, now we want to put them all together. Mix them up, play the first one, then the second one, then leave a bar of rest, play the second one, then a bar of rest, then the first one. You get the idea. Mix them around, and you'll slowly start to become more comfortable with playing in a more improvisatory way. Starting from there, you can start to think more about interacting in a musical setting with bandmates rather than just playing a groove and keeping the time steady. Here's a couple of example comping rhythms to get you started. 1, 2, 1, 2, ready, go. One, two, 1, 2, ready, go. Okay, that's all for now. A great basic swing beat, some common easier variations, and what to do to take your basic swing beat to the next level. I hope this has been helpful for you. Please let me know in the comments if it was, or if you still have some questions about playing a decent swing beat. Other drummers, let me know if I missed something, Or if you learned one of these concepts in another way, you'd like to add an extra approach for students who might not vibe with the way that I teach things. After all, the purpose of this video series is to be the best possible free community resource. So, if you want to help me out, go right on ahead. We'll be back next Tuesday with another video, so feel free to subscribe if you're really digging this and you want to know when I put out another one. I'll see you next time.